Capricorn, it's Gregory Scott here. Thank you for joining me. This is your astrology forecast for October 2015. I'm going to give you a rundown of what's happening, and I'm going to start with the 30th of September because two things occur on the 30th that are really going to have an impact on your October. So the first thing is that your sun, your ego, your identity, starts to form a relationship with Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth. Now, there's going to be a sense of self, there's going to be a change or a kind of renewal in the way you see yourself, especially in your working life. And I think you'll start to get some ideas about how you can work in a more harmonious way, or in a way that's more harmonious to you. And it may be that you want to change your job, or that you want to change certain aspects about your job that would really make it much more compatible with your needs. So that's not always, a very comfortable process if you start questioning what you're doing for a career. So just give yourself lots of love, be patient with yourself, and if you do want to make any changes, then you have the potential to do that. Pluto also starts to square Uranus, which is the planet of the unexpected and miracles and electricity and energy, and that square lasts much longer. They connect with each other from the 13th. Until the 13th, I should say, rather. So, let me give you the dates. So, Pluto and Uranus square each other from the 30th of September through until the 13th of May 2016. So, for 9 months. So, it's a long connection. And that really underpins a lot of the other things that are going on here. Uranus is in your 4th house. And again, it changes your personal ideas about your role in family and the way you see yourself interacting with family. It can take a number of forms. Either if you've never wanted to have children, you may change your mind. If you've always been the person in the family who was written off as the new age weirdo, and you've always kind of played up to that part, then you may be tired of that and you may want to have a different identity. It's about seeing yourself differently and then using the energy to change that in a certain aspect of your life, in this case, in your family life and also in your working life. So there's a feeling of discontentedness with the way the outside world perceives you. Remember that you're powerless over people, places and things. If people see you in a certain way, you can't do much about that. All you can do is you. You can just be you. So don't worry too much about how you're received. If you want to make changes within yourself, do. And that's the kind of thing that I think will come up for you very strongly, Capricorn. And you may even notice that despite yourself, your role changes. Now, on the 1st of October, your Jupiter, your Mars, and your midheaven, they are all in your 9th house. Jupiter is the planet of good luck and good fortune and expansion. Mars is desire, and I really feel like you'll want to change your job, or to change your skill set, or to change the thing that you're educated about, or to change the way you see the world, to broaden your horizon. There's a real drive in that area of your life to overcome limitations in your own communication, in your own understanding of the world, by taking practical action, by applying yourself. That can be by going to a course, doing a course, going to university, going on a trip. All of those things will teach you something, and I think you'll have a strong desire to undertake one of those ventures, if you can call it that. Now, Chiron starts to square your moon on the 3rd of October. And really, for you, Capricorn, there's a certain idealism about the way life could be. And I think you start to actively communicate that and to actively seek it out. On the 4th of October, the moon then moves on into Cancer, and it starts to square a lot of activity that's going on in your 10th house. You've got the moon there, not the moon, you've got the sun there, you've got Mercury and the North Node, all of which are in Libra. So the biggest areas of power are around the noon position. If you think of the chart, you've got the rising sign, which is sunrise. You've got the midheaven, which is noon, you've got the descendant, which is sunset, and you've got the IC, which is the middle of the night. And all of your planets pretty much are hovering around this noon position, and that has to do with your daily life. Especially, the thinking is that at noon, you're most like yourself, because you're out and about, you're doing things, you're taking part in life. And you have your Sun, your Mercury, and your North Node in that 10th house, which means your biggest focus is on harmonizing and making your work and getting your working life to a place where you're pleased with it and where you feel like you can care about it and love it like you would another person. So that's a big ask. I mean, a lot of people don't love their jobs, but in spiritual truth, we can all get to a place where we do work and jobs that we do love. So if you've been in denial about your working life, if you've kind of said, well, it's not that great, but I have to put up with it, I think that Pluto in the first isn't going to let you get away with that anymore, and you may have to face the reality that you don't love your job. And if you don't, then you have to make some changes. If you do love your job, and there are other things that you've been kidding yourself about, I really feel that at the beginning of October, those things are going to come out, they're going to come to light, and you're going to have to work with them and look at them. And it doesn't feel comfortable, but it's a great thing, because you become more of a real person. You can't really talk to someone who's in denial, because they don't know what's even going on for them. So Pluto starts to oppose the Moon and creates a T-square with Uranus on the 5th. This again is an area of friction, and the question is, who am I, what do I care about, and how can I move forward with it? And it really comes to a head on the 5th, and you'll have to make some decisions. On the 6th then, Pluto trines your midheaven, and it trines your Jupiter and your Mars. And I think you'll make a decision around which way you're going to go on the 6th. So are you going to go on a trip? Are you going to educate yourself more? Are you going to, I don't think you'll ruminate about it anymore. You're just going to make a decision and go for it. The next day, on the 7th, the Moon trines Uranus. And this is really good because on this day, someone else in your life is going to give you an insight or is going to present themselves to you in the way that you love, and that will give you the final push to really move forward one way or the other. Either leave things as they are or go on a trip or educate yourself more, but I think it'll crystallize in your mind, and it comes through another person's influence. Venus also goes into Virgo. It joins the rest of your Virgoan planets there in the 9th house on the 9th of October. So now you've got Jupiter, planet of good luck and good fortune, Mars, the soldier planet of what it is you desire, the Moon, what makes you feel nurtured and comfortable, and also Venus, the goddess of love, all of which are now in Virgo. And you're going to have such a thirst for knowledge. You're really going to love receiving, taking things in. If you're a student, if you're a learner, if you're going on a trip for cultural enlightenment or growth, your switch is flipped to in. You're taking stuff in, okay? When you're writing a book, when you're teaching a class, when you're creating a CD, you switch that, you flick that switch to being productive. You can't, I mean, some people can do both, but they're two very separate energies, okay? And for you this month, it's going to feel a bit like a conflict because your 9th house is so packed and you're going to want to take things in. You're going to want to learn and grow and expand. But then you've also got a lot in your career sector, which is all about I'm doing, I'm performing, I'm giving. So it's like one foot on the gas pedal, one foot on the brake. Am I working or am I learning? Am I taking stuff in or am I giving it out? If you don't want to drive yourself crazy, try and do both, but don't sweep one thing under the rug for the sake of the other, because both are going to raise their heads and you're going to want to do both. So that's sometimes difficult to manage because, we all try and find balance in our life and it's not always easy. However, Virgo will try and sort that out for you, especially Venus in Virgo, because Venus in Virgo loves order and it doesn't like chaos. So the fact that you've got Venus on your side means that you'll be able to manage this quite well. On the 10th, Venus starts to form a relationship with Uranus in your 4th house. And it's a sesqui square, which is 135 degrees apart, which is quite a long kind of connection. And these two, it's almost like you find something that you're looking for, which becomes your family, which really energizes you. So that can be a concept, an idea, or a place. If you go on holiday to the same place for 30 years, that's like a family member, isn't it? That place becomes part of your close circle. So you discover something that's going to have a long-term impact on your life, and that's going to have a long presence in your life. On the 11th, another T-square occurs, so there's a lot of those this month, a lot of motivation, a lot of drive to move forward, and that's between the Sun and Uranus, and it culminates in your first house of self with Pluto there. So again, the question is, what am I doing? What am I moving forward in my personal relationship life? What am I doing in my working life? And the answer is, what feels right to, what has the most potential? So if the question is, should I work on this relationship with my mother, who the relationship has never been good, for example, or should I work on this job project, which has an end date of, let's say, the 15th of October, then the outcome should be the thing you choose should be the thing that actually has potential to be concluded at some point. So I think on the 11th, you're going to have to make a choice between family and work, and if it's a birth or something where you can see an outcome, then do that. But if not, if it's an ongoing relationship issue, then I would choose work, because you can actually be productive, and it's important to make the most of your time. The new moon happens in Libra, and unsurprisingly, it's in your career sector, in the 10th house. So by applying yourself to work, you can create real harmony and beauty and something you'll be really proud of in your working life. And by thinking along those lines, by planning ahead, you can really create something you'll be very pleased with in your career. Again, you're going to have to be disciplined this month, Capricorn, because it's a little bit all over the place, that productive, that incoming, outgoing thing I mentioned earlier. And then also we've got Uranus at the bottom of the chart, kind of spreading chaos a little bit. So the more clear and the firmer you are with yourself, the better of a month you're going to have. Now, Jupiter and Neptune have been opposing each other since the 16th of August, and they stopped doing that today on the 13th of October. And that has given you a sense of romance in terms of, if I go on a trip, if I learn something new, I can be wonderful and I can make my dreams come true, and I can really make up for all the things in my life that didn't work out. That's a little bit over the top. I mean, you can hear that just the way I'm saying it. It's a little bit of a romantic notion that, if I find something fabulous in the now, then all the past pain and disappointment will go poof and is gone. That sense of unrealisticness, if that's a word, that goes away, and that leaves you, and you start to become a little bit more practical. And if you do something to learn and to educate yourself, the joy of doing that will be enough, and you don't have to go into, poetic flights of fancy just to justify that to yourself. On the 17th, the moon starts to trine Uranus. Uranus is in your family sector, okay? And Uranus represents energy and the unknown and miracles, but it can also represent chaos. So it's in Aries, which is quite forceful and driven, and it kind of sits all by itself down there in your family sector. So I do see that family is something that feels quite other to you this month. It's almost like it's pulling you away from what you're wanting to do in your travels or in your work, and it seems to be this nagging, annoying little buzzing thing that kind of irritates you in your life. And now that the moon starts to trine this Uranus, I think you start to get some clarity around how to manage it, because the reason it's been so annoying is because your focus hasn't been there. Your focus is on other things. On the 17th, you start to understand what people in your family want from you, whether it's time or attention or love or money, whatever. You start to understand that there's a way forward, and that you can manage it, and that you can give people what they want from you, because they want this stuff from you because they love you and they're close to you, and you can provide that, and it'll stop being such a nuisance, and you'll actually face your responsibilities and not be so distracted. So it's kind of coming together. And to be honest, Capricorn, this month right so far doesn't seem like it's all fun and games, but it really is a new identity, and you're looking at yourself and your world through a new pair of lenses. And when that happens, it's a real indicator for growth, and it's growth in a positive direction. On the 18th, the moon begins to square the... It squares the North Node in Virgo in your 9th house. The moon is in Sagittarius, which means you're very comfortable now moving forward, and you've become more clear about what your path, what your structure is, and it connects with your North Node in Virgo, and the North Node is what you're trying to achieve on a soul level. So everything clicks into place, and that lack of balance and that back and forth all the time that you had until now is gone. Okay, you'll start to feel very, very focused, very full of direction, and that feeling of restlessness and irritability leaves you, which is great. The moon then moves forward into your first house, into your sign, into Capricorn. Pluto is also in Capricorn. And because Pluto is there in your sign, it's extra strong because you can really relate to it. And it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. When the moon comes in, it's essentially nurturing and what's easy. So this new person that's coming out of you, this new identity that's being birthed, doesn't feel so traumatic. It feels quite natural, and it feels quite nice, and you're starting to see what that could look like in practice. Whereas right now, I think for the beginning of the month, you've kind of been in the dark about what's going on, and you've been so busy with stuff that you haven't really had any time or concept of what to do with all of these new ideas and feelings. I think they start to click into place, and you can see how to use these for your benefit in future. If this is totally vague to you, and if this makes no sense, all I'm saying is that your vision of yourself is quite swampy to begin with. New information comes in because new information comes in, and you have a more enlightened and crystal clear vision of yourself as the month progresses, which is going to make your life richer and better. Okay. On the 23rd, Neptune and the Sun start to create a connection, and they start to create a trine. Now, Neptune is the planet of the dream, the unseen, and of psychic ability. And like I said, the Sun is your identity, it's your personality. We're in the month of Libra here, and the two connect, which means that your intuition and your intuitive insights and the messages that you get really become much, much stronger. That trine is there from the 23rd of October through until the 6th of November, so really watch out for that. If you get hunches, or if you work with your guides, or if you rely on your intuition, it's going to be supercharged over those 2 weeks. And if you are trying to make decisions, then you'll have a kind of clear, direct line to get the messages that you need. The moon trines Saturn on the 25th. And Saturn is in your 12th house. The one thing that you are certain about this month is your spiritual path. I think you're very, very clear on where you're going there. And I think on the 25th, you'll start to realize that by applying spiritual principles as well, that you can manage the chaos that's going on in your family, or the feelings of chaos that you have about your family. You know, that there's so much going on that you can't keep up with, that there's so many demands on you. And that's the answer. You know, by applying spiritual principles, you can manage it. And what you learned earlier in the month about just giving people what they need, by combining those things, I think it will start to calm down. And I think you'll start to feel a part of again, rather than separated from people in your life. And I mean, you know, these are the people who are nearest and dearest to you. So the normal, or the thing that you usually would strive for, is to feel a sense of connection with them. Okay, on the 27th, the moon is full, and that's a full moon in Taurus, and that happens in your 5th house of romance and relationship. And this kind of changes the theme now for you, Capricorn, in terms of this reading, because a full moon is a blossoming and is a coming to fruition in a practical way, because it's a full moon in Taurus. And this happens in your house of fun, and romance and children. So all of this heaviness, okay, all of this work that you've been doing, you've really done very well. And that comes to an end now, and fun comes into your life, and you start to be able to lighten up and take a breath, and things start to just chill out a little bit. That then is heightened the next day because there's a grand trine in Earth in your chart. Your new sense of identity is now grounded and solid. It connects with all of those positive elements in your 9th house, and it connects with the moon. This end of the month is a wonderful time for you to just let your hair down and to have fun and to go on a trip. That would tick both boxes. One, it would be fun, and second of all, it would allow you to expand and grow and be learning about different things, and that would meet that criteria that's been there all of the month. So going back over the whole month, I said it's difficult to find balance. How about working really hard and planning a holiday for the end of the month, and then you have that to look forward to, and you're not going to have that conflict. So maybe take off a couple of days at the end of the month between the 25th and the 31st. I think that'll work really, really well for you. 31st of October, Halloween. We've got a grand trine again in the chart, and this is in water, which basically means this is going to be quite an intense Halloween. The Neptune-Sun connection makes you more psychic. The water grand trine means that there's almost a mist, an ability for things to be communicated, and also because it's Halloween, the veil is thinner anyway, so that's a great time to tap into intuitive insights, to connect with people on the other side, to do all of that work. So if that's something you're interested, be aware of that. It's going to be a powerful Halloween this year. I hope you found that useful. If you'd like a private reading with me, then please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. And if you click on the readings tab, you'll see the different types of readings that I offer. I do astrology and tarot and numerology. And if you'd like to find me on Facebook, I'm there under facebook.com/GregoryScott444. And please remember to subscribe to the channel. Have a wonderful October, and I'll speak to you soon.